All right. Hey, you guys, this is Madiba Thompson, ambassador with ViSalus Sciences, and right now it's very fortunate that I've actually got Mr. G.J. Reynolds, who is a very top ambassador, been a founding member with ViSalus, has been on the corporate aspects of ViSalus and watching from the incubation to this huge monster that has formed. And when I say monster, I say that in a good term, in a good context. But you know, I was fortunate because you can get so much wisdom from somebody like himself who's made millions of dollars, not only in what we're doing over here inside of this industry, you know, owning companies, formulating products, just really just a massive amount of knowledge that this gentleman brings to the table, and to have him as a part of our team and somebody that you can lean on and really get some outstanding wisdom from, I definitely feel it is a major blessing. I'm so excited to have him on this call for what we're going to do here. The reason I've got Mr. Reynolds here is because I was actually, and this hasn't been just on one occasion, but you know, I got a situation where, not a situation, but got a message saying, hey, Madiba, have you heard about, you know, X, Y, and Z company? You know, they're copying what we're doing over here, and they've got this fantastic product, you know, that they came out with, and you know, hey, just, you know, what are your thoughts on this company? And so, you know, I you know, have my own thoughts on things, but again, to be able to lean on somebody like G.J. Reynolds and get the wisdom that he has, I wanted to take the time to record this call for you guys, because we want you to be able to stay focused like we are focused, and be able to accomplish the things that you want to have ViSalus do for you that can definitely happen for you as it has for ourselves. But, you know, without further ado, just want to make sure, got my friend, confidant, business partner, Mr. G.J. Reynolds. Are you on the line with us, partner?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So much appreciate your time. And so if you would, you know, we had a good conversation earlier, and if you can expound on, you know, what we had talked about and kind of that question that was thrown out there, you know, about, you know, the whole competition things and people following and copying and coming out with X, Y, and Z products, and just a whole plethora of things that we kind of hear, you know, when it comes to people copying us, which is us being number one, ViSalus Sciences and the Body by Vi Challenge. So if you could do that, I appreciate it big time.
Well, I'm going to answer in several parts. One is, you know, in the business world, it's like there's definitely a competitive world, and being a former athlete and surrounding myself with a lot of former athletes, and obviously one of my closest friends and mentors is Coach Dale Brown, you know, who coached at LSU for 25 years. And, you know, he introduced me to Coach John Wooden, you know, who passed away last year. And, you know, so a lot of things that I, you know, apply in my entrepreneurial, you know, business, I use from what I've learned in sports and what I've learned from coaches, and then also what I learned from the military. And, you know, basic principles are going to apply. And when you apply the basic principles, you're going to have success. So there's always going to be competition. And the key is, are you more focused on your competition, or are you more focused on your business? And that'd be one of the questions I would ask anybody. And a lot of times there's the proof in the pudding. And we can come back to that point. The other thing is, there's always going to be competition. There's always going to be something new. There's always going to be the new shiny object. And here's what I have to say about the new shiny object. All right, look at where we're at as a company. All right, a lot of people are saying we're an overnight success. Well, we're an overnight success going on almost 7 years. And most companies require 5 to 7 years before they ever start to get their business model off the ground in a real positive way. And there are companies that do it sooner. A lot of times when they do it sooner, they end up having more troubles because they're not equipped to handle it as soon. You know, it's like a fine wine. Good fine wine requires time and mature, and it's got to mature. And so a company has to do the same thing. The other component is that most companies never make it to a 5-year mark in any industry, let alone this industry. And now you're going into the worst economic condition we've ever had in our lifetime and in the whole time of this industry. And money is going to be a key factor in growing a business. So if you're going to grow a business, you got to have money. So a lot of these companies are struggling because of the economic concerns. And what are they doing? They're trying to copy what's working. However, if they're focused on copying, they're really missing the boat. And I had the pleasure, as well as you did this past weekend, spend time with one of the co-founders of ViSalus, Blake Mallon. And he said there's so many companies right now that are trying to catch us and trying to do all the different things and trying to implement what we're trying to do. However, they're really missing the boat. They're missing the messaging. They're missing the key components of what is making us great. And it's not just one thing. It's a culmination of things. And so in order to implement a culmination of things requires time to get it right. And we're a good example. Ryan Blair states in his book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain. In chapter 1, he talks about going back to December of 2009, where we're wondering if it's going to make it. We're wondering if our company's going to make it, and are we going to have to do something else to going, to fast forward it to now. So almost 2 years later, where we're on pace to do over $250 million a year, and over the next 100 days, we'll be on pace to do $500 million. So any company that starts to copy us, there's a good thing about that, flattery. However, we are so ahead of the game, and we're so focused, and we know exactly who we are, what we're all about, what our people are asking for, what our people deserve, what our customers are asking for, and we're delivering it. And that is dominance. And when you do that very well, you're going to be successful. And I'll give you a couple examples. There's McDonald's, there's Burger King, there's Wendy's, there's some other ones. There's enough market share out there to be successful, even if somebody else copies this and has success. The other component is there's other businesses out there right now that are competitors of ours, and they may be selling a totally different, product or service. However, they are competition as far as this industry. And the other component is a lot of these companies, they're focused on the 4% of growing this industry versus the 96%. So we're focused on the 96% and the 4%, which means we're focused on 100% of the people. And we're in the fastest growing market, the fastest growing segment. So there's going to be other companies. There's going to be other companies that have other products. There's plenty of other companies in this genre of what we're in. However, some are in our industry, some are, just a direct sales company. So there's plenty of room for multiple companies. However, it all comes down to what are you doing with your business. And John Wooden, they won 10 championships, 10 national championships. And they were asking him one time in an interview about the competition, the team that they're going to play. And he just smiled, and then a very humble, and this is, textbook Coach John Wooden, he just said, all we're focused on is being the best that we're capable of being. And as long as we're focused on being the best that we're capable of being, everything will take care of itself. And that's what I would ask of anyone who's in this industry, especially with our company and our team. Just simply, are you doing the best that you're capable of and focus on what you need to do for your business? And I guarantee you, if you focus on that, you'll have success. If you're worried about everybody else and always trying to see what they're doing and looking over the other side of the fence or sticking your foot over the other side of the fence, you're probably not going to have as much success as you're capable of having. So does that answer your question?
It does, and I definitely appreciate it. And I think it's funny that you touched on the fact of Blake talking about 4% of the industry liking, being involved with network marketing, and 96% either don't understand it or have done it, and they're mad because they've had a bad experience. And the fact of that, all these companies out here are specifically focused on either pushing product or pushing opportunity, because I noticed that one of the emails that I had got was saying that, hey, they've got this great new, focusing on this great new product, and so it's kind of just so true to the fact that people are focused on, this industry, people that are in this industry, in a majority fashion, are focused on what that next, whole product thing is, whereas the magic behind what we're doing over here, from what Blake was saying and, what you had mentioned, is not have anything to do about product, hasn't to do anything about opportunity, it has to do with the magic of our message over here being completely different than any other messaging out there. And so I think you've touched on some great points. And so, in closing, because, a question, was also asked about, the aspect of, keeping your friends close and keeping your enemies closer, being able to go out there and know what the kind of the competition is doing. And I know you had stated that, in your best times you knew about the competition, but you were focused on where you were really going. And so what would you say to the people out there that mention that, the whole aspect of keeping your friends close and keeping your enemies closer? What would you kind of just real short say about that?
Well, before I answer that question, I want to go back to, the knockoffs and the copies and look at McDonald's. McDonald's has a system. When Ray Kroc bought McDonald's, he didn't buy it because they had great hamburgers. He bought it because they had a great system. And they're very, very detailed in their system, and it was very easy to replicate. And they dominated. So to this day, they're selling billions and billions of hamburgers. We all know they're not the best hamburgers in the world. Now, somebody from McDonald's may argue that if they hear this. However, I happen to occasionally have a burger, and there's plenty of burger places out there that have better burgers. So the key is your distribution, your ease of distribution, and being dominant and being the best at it. And they're definitely, have become the best at it. And so we have done the same thing in our business. The other component here is that this is a people business, and we have given the people what they've asked for, versus trying to force stuff down people's throats, or trying to come up with creative ways to get their attention and do the bait and switch, which a lot of companies do. And so we're coming with a simple message, an authentic message, and we're giving people what people want, because this is a people business, and people forget about it. It isn't about the products. It isn't about the services. It isn't about this or that or the BMWs or any of the other great things that we have. It's really about the people. And a lot of companies have missed the boat on that. And they've hurt a lot of people, and they've ran a lot of people out of the industry. And so we have realized what's important, and we're very good at delivering it in a simple message that works with great products, with great service, with great results, and great compensation. So when you add all those things together, it starts to add up. So some of these companies may have one little thing that works. However, great. What about this, this, and this? And oh, by the way, do you have enough money? And then going back to answering the question, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. You know what? I have always adopted that in my own philosophy. And since I wrote my book, and then where my life has evolved over the last 10 years, I realize it's good to keep your competition, and have an understanding of what's going on in the industry and all. It comes back down to, am I focused on doing what's best for me, what's best for my clients, best for my people, what is best for what people are asking for, and being the best at giving that to them. And as long as I do that, I will have no competition. So I don't have to worry about that. My best success in anything I've ever done, whether it was in athletics, in the military, or in the business world, was simply when I focused on being the best at what I could be and be able to deliver the best services available and do it consistently. And anyone that does that will have success no matter what they're doing. And that's what I would ask anyone that's listening is just be the best that they are, which goes back to Coach John Wooden, how he won 10 championships. And oh, by the way, he started in the 40s, and he didn't start having major success for almost 20 years. He had some success, so it required time. Now he's considered the greatest coach in any sport ever. Most people don't realize that he coached for as long as he did. So we're at that point. I would ask anybody that's listening, forget about worrying about everybody else. Let the company do that, because our entrepreneurs and our management team and our executives and our board are all focused on making sure that we're the most competitive company out there, and we're the best at what we do. And they are in the business world, in multiple businesses, from the board level to Blythe level. They know what's going on. That's why you're with the best company at the right time and with the right people. Now, my question to you, are you up for a challenge, and are you going to go for it?
Nice. Again, buddy, just such an honor to be able to have this time and your expertise and, on the phone to share, just share the truth with folks that are out there. It's funny, we were at that event, and, you got to experience, with how long you've been with ViSalus, you got to experience the near closure, the $3 million down to $300,000 in sales, to near closure, to the resurgence of this challenge, to everything happening in place. And I remember Blake saying, hey, you know what? All these things had to align, and a lot of that was because, it wasn't just because we're great. A lot of that was we got somewhat, there's some luck involved with everything transpiring like it has, you guys. And now you are part of, in the next 90 days, a company that 6.5 years from $250 million to over the next 90 days, going on a $500 million run to next year, Wall Street numbers, being able to achieve that billion-dollar status, but not, and the only company to do it in 20-something odd years, but not only that, but the only company to do it in North America alone. GJ asked you guys, are you up for the challenge? He said some major things here you've got to get your focus on. So what I highly recommend is, hey, how we learn these different things that we have about what's going on with our industry, what's going on with our company, is we get to the events. So I'm just going to say, with whatever you've got to do, we've got an event coming up here, and it's coming up here in October, but you've got to get yourself plugged into the events. That's where you learn what it is that this is about, the heart, the blood pumping of what's going on with this magical time in this company and in this entire industry, folks. And you heard from GJ. He poured it, laid it on the line. Top executive, major business builder, entrepreneur, somebody who's been on the inside and the outside of companies, development, everything that goes into place with building a very powerful, steady, income-driven business. So GJ said it best, man. Are you up for the challenge? And I'm going to steal his line that he uses. If you are, then choose action, and choose action now. So GJ, man, appreciate your time, partner, big time. I don't know if you have any other closing words. If not, we'll wind down here. But again, just appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to go through this call here, partner.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Second of all, thanks for doing such a great job and being such a great student yourself. And another thing that I learned from Coach John Wooden and Coach Dale Brown is that a great teacher is always a great student, and they're always learning. And, John Wooden did that up until his passing, and I just had the pleasure of spending a weekend with Coach Dale Brown, and, he's a student. It's like the little kid in the candy store, always wanting to learn something and then apply it in his own life and teach other people. So you've been a great student, and you're a great teacher, and, you're leading a lot of people, and you have a lot of impact in a positive way. So thank you for your actions and for you choosing action. And then the third component is, I'm going to end with this: go choose action, stay focused, and go be the best that you are.
Right on. Thank you so much, G. for those of you guys who want to learn more about GJ and the opportunity you have to actually align yourself with us and other team members that are all aligned along with GJ and just some of the other powerful leadership that's in this team, I tell you, you can actually check his website out, simplyg.net, simplyg.net, and also you can actually see and learn more about the author that he is with this powerful book called The Playful and Powerful Warrior Within You. Part of the catalyst of what's going on with this team. So that being said, man, you guys have an outstanding evening, and God bless.